Welcome everybody to the Genesis Mindset. So today, Bud is joining me on what we've started as a new regular stream. So we're going to be discussing the beauty of Pulsechain and what's being built on Pulsechain. This for us is the emergence of a new community. So we have identified that the real bug on Pulsechain is the OG hexagon extractors. And what we want to do is try to build and nurture a new community that works together to win together. So with everything that's happening with pDAI, we believe there's more to this blockchain. We believe that there's more to cryptocurrency right now than just dollar go up. So we're encouraging you to participate and be the change that you want to see in the world. And hopefully just engage in the conversation, engage in the comments. For now, we are just going to do this, the both of us. In the future, I think we can definitely have other people up here. So Bud, welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
Yes, really good. As we discussed before, it's been a wild day. So for you, it's morning. For me, it's 10, just after 10 p.m. So it's been a whole day of crazy energy. Obviously, there was the Richard Hart massive tweet this morning at 18. I think it was an 18 tweet, or 18 long tweet or something like this. I imagine you've seen that.
Yeah, I saw that. I think I'm pretty current on all of the events. I just want to start by saying, first, obviously not financial advice. Second, I'm not going to say this is just my opinion throughout the entirety of this. Obviously, it's just my opinion. And the way people like to distract from an idea is they give you these imaginary horribles. It's Richard's phrase. And they can use 2 to 3 sentences that then takes you 20 to 30 sentences to respond. And that's waste of time. So is there a chance that we're wrong here? Yeah. But I just want to have a conversation about what could be in the world that I want to see, instead of having to apologize and put exclusions in throughout. So I saw the Richard Hart stuff. I saw the tweet. Like I said the last time I was up, brother, this is going to get violent, right? And it's about as violent and volatile as it gets. Richard is removing himself publicly, and he is disavowing what's going to be the only decentralized stablecoin, right? And we all know why. We've talked about the original MakerDAO guy, getting shot and drowning in 8 inches of water. Maria doing the same thing. So if that's what they're doing, that's what they're doing. There were several events, key events that I saw that I thought were really important. The removal of the liquidity. Folks on the other side of this discussion said, oh, this is Richard telling everyone that it's trash, right? Well, let's think about this with a little perspective. By him removing liquidity, this means that the Atropa system is not heavily weighted to the rest of the core coins, meaning that we don't have the Atropa DAI system doesn't have to carry the weight of all of Pulsechain up. So you could potentially see the entire, because DAI and Atropa are bonded. We've established that through the V1 liquidity pool, where all of that liquidity is held inside of the burnt address, right? That can't be touched, that can't be removed. Those two are forever linked. So as we start to see these flop auctions start, and you see the pDAI be burned, and you start to see positive price pressure, then you're going to see all of that movement go throughout the entirety of the Atropa system. And with the removal of the liquidity web bonding to the core coins, it just means that it's going to be able to move a lot higher and a lot faster, because it's not going to have to absorb the sell pressure from the hexagon virus, right? Because we all know that when hex starts to run up, those dudes start dumping and they start taking liquidity out of the protocol.
Every single time, without exception.
Every single time. Yes. So you now they have broke the bond between the core tokens and the entirety of the Atropa system. And if you want to get in now, like there was opportunity before, there's a lot less opportunity because there's liquidity is not being provided to come in to the Atropa Pt I system, right? You need liquidity to come in, to be able to come in. So this is an opportunity for the Atropa system to like turn on your deck screener and go to the 24-hour. If this works the way we project, you'll see huge movement in Atropa Pt I, Teddy, Treasury, all of it, right? But you won't see movement in Pulse, PulseX, or Hex.
So you're saying go to the Pulsechain and then go to 24-hour?
Yeah, go to like DEX, like on my watch list, right? I have a lot of the Atropa tokens. Yeah, like here. So you're going to start to see all of the like DAI. You're going to see correlation in the movement, right? Like watch the percentage. Like as I've been observing this, I have seen like DAI, Atropa, they move at the same, in a 24-hour, you can see them move in correlation, right? And then PWBTC was with it, but it's not moving at the same ratio anymore. And then you have, like PUSDT is moving, but it's more linked like with, oh gosh, what was it linked to? It's like some, maybe Mantisa, I think. Anyway, you're going to see, I'm sorry, go ahead, Steve.
What were you, which token were you saying before you said Mantisa, sorry?
USDT, PUSDT.
Yes, most likely Mantisa, yes.
So there's correlation there in the performance. And I believe you're going to see, if you just focus on the 24-hour and watch the percentage moves, then you're going to see these things moving in lockstep. But what's different is like when there was all that liquidity that was linked between the Atropa system and the core coins, then that's like DAI got to run up to 3 cents. And then through the liquidity web and the ARB bots, that's what the Atropa system does. It spreads the liquidity throughout the web. So then you were seeing positive price pressure across most of the chain, right? It was drawing eyes. And then you had people doing extracting. So now we're in a setup where we don't have those core coins being bonded, which is going to give the Atropa system the ability to move up on an exponential chart without having to carry everything. It's really important that people understand the way that the Atropa system works here.
So and just a minute, sorry, Bud.
Go ahead.
I just want to clarify a few things. So with the pooled liquidity, so my understanding was Richard pulled the liquidity, well, the OA pulled the liquidity from pDAI and Pulsechain. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then now you're relating that to how it feeds into the rest of the Atropa ecosystem through pDAI. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
when you would get positive movement in pDAI, right, then it would also go into Pulse, but then there's all those trading pairs with Pulse, PulseX, Pulse Hex, right? So as when you understand Hart's law, and when you get one side of the offer to go up, then it's the inverse of a square on the other side. So you get positive price performance via the liquidity webbing.
Mm-hmm.
And now with that liquidity taken down, this means all of this potential in price movement, we're not going to be weighted down by the core coins.
Do you remember what the liquidity was prior to today? Prior to the OA pulling? I don't know what it was for the Pulsechain pair.
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I mean, I did hear about that, and I know it was a big FUD event, but it's still almost like $1 million of liquidity.
Right. Right.
Mm.
But see, he can pull his liquidity, whoever pulled it, the OA, right? But the beautiful part about a decentralized system is you're just one player, man. You know, like you just because he pulls it doesn't mean anything that everybody else has to. You
Mm.
know, other people can still be in that liquidity pool.
Yeah, and people have added to it. I know the DAI liquidity pool is basically empty, 3.5K liquidity. So this one has been really dried out. So you pretty much cannot trade in that one. But the Pulsechain pool, Pulsechain and pDAI pool. I'm trying to get up the pDAI liquidity pools, but it's really I think because the liquidity is just going so crazy, it's really lagging a lot. So I want to at least be able to. Looks like possibly this one might be working now. So now basically your thesis is that because that liquidity has been pulled from there, it gives the Atropa ecosystem to move a lot more without being weighed down by the rest of the core coins.
Yes,
And your
exactly
thinking
right.
there is that's a good thing because then the core coin maxis or these hex OGs, these predatory hex OGs that you've thought about are basically the ones that are holding everything down.
Right. Because they keep extracting value to maintain their lifestyle. Right. And if my theory on that is correct, how upset are these people going to be when Master come out and told them not to buy pDAI and it runs through the roof, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, Bud, I'm definitely seeing like the depth of emotion that those people are, or certain people on that side of the fence are exhibiting for that is really, to me, coming from a place of deep greed. So now that Richard has come out and said, okay, this thing, don't go for this thing, it's a scam. This is their opportunity to really like bolster in their position of what they want everybody else to buy. That's what it really seems like to me.
Right.
Not all of them.
Right.
Not all of them. I think, I don't want to generalize here, and you'd probably be the same, but definitely a certain percentage. So, okay, so finally
Yeah.
with pDAI. Still going super.
Yeah. I think it's, I don't want to spin off on too many different tangents, but like I said before, you have to deal with reality for what it is, and you can't go back and change things, right?
Mm.
So if my theory is correct and you've identified the biggest problem in your ecosystem is the virus of the community, then you have to figure out a way to move on and to deal with it, right? Like launching Hex, if you were going to launch a financial ecosystem, launching Hex wasn't really the first thing that needed to happen. But that's what we're dealing with. And, you know, Richard's first videos talked about like being a good human and like giving to the Sins Foundation and trying to create a better world. And then a lot of people got involved that were a part of it, but then when they got money, the money accented the worst parts of their personality. And instead of being a positive force in this world, they just started dumping and enjoying the profits instead of being a part of a decentralized ecosystem. And you know, the idea with Hex was to tell people to stake it, right? Support it. But the flaw in the system was the short-term rolling stakes, these really big short-term rolling stakes that allowed all of the profit to get ripped out of it. So I would say that Hex has a virus, and it's the people using it. It's not the code. The code's great, but we need a period of time to flush out the trash, right? So in order to have a decentralized system, you need the blockchain, you need the Pulsechain, you need a venue to trade, you need a stable coin. The CD is not the most important thing, but that's what we started with, right? Because that's what we needed at that time. Hex was launched to change man's relationship with money, but then, you know, we've just had all of these world events. So you deal with reality, it's never optimal. And there's a bit of a flushing out right now. And we have a second opportunity to become the community that was the original intention.
So on this, okay, so first of all, I think one of the interesting things that pops into my mind about even this, even the way that the OA staked everything to reduce the yield, there was no discussion around, there was a little bit of a discussion around why that might have been. But what you're saying with these extractors and with building a new community, so let's go on the assumption that this is correct. Let's go on the assumption that this is a part of that flushing out of that system. What do you think is a way of being or doing that represents something that can heal that virus within our ecosystem? Because it's a strong force, bud. That's the thing that concerns me. Like, it's a very, very strong force.
Right. Well, you have to recognize a couple things. People who participate here are here to create wealth for themselves and to live a better life, right? And until you reach a point of financial security, ideas are just ideas. You got to take care of yourself first, right? So if you got in on this system, you're going to see, again, this is the assumption, you're going to see huge movement across the Atropa system. Your token counts are going to be great. Okay. Well, financial education is really important. And if it's kind of like in gambling, right? When you get a fish at the table, you can shear a sheep a bunch of times, but you can only skin it once, right? So treat your money as a sheep and just shear it, never skin it. And what I mean by that is, if you get this run up, then let's call the run up your potential tokens right now, right? Treat that as your principal. Never sell your principal. right? Take that money, take those tokens, provide liquidity in V2. And then wealth doesn't just happen like overnight, right? So if you lock that value up and you find the right trading pairs, and you can find in the Atropa system, you can find coins that are correlated, right? Like because of bigger bonding, like Atropa Pt I is pretty bonded. Teddy and Treasury is pretty bonded. Go and start looking at the weighting of those pools and lock that liquidity, lock your tokens in there. And then when you want to enjoy lifestyle chips, just remove the interest. Leave your principal there to continue to work for you. That's how you buy your freedom.
Yeah, I mean, particularly in these highly volatile times, I mean, I've never, ever seen this kind of yield. 2,707, 800%. So Pulsechain and BFF, look at that. Pulsechain and BFF, 800%. LP, reward, APR. I have never, ever seen BFF. So there's one example. You got Teddy Bear. There's DAI and Pulsechain. Pulsechain and Wrap Bitcoin, Treasury Bill, and Pulsechain. So there's a lot of Pulsechain pairs. You got pDAI and Teddy Bear. So is that pDAI? That's pDAI and Teddy Bear. So pDAI and Teddy Bear must still have a lot of, there we go. So 430,000 liquidity. So these are some of the really interesting opportunities that you can start to look for. So I even had a friend ask me today, like, how do I find a good liquidity pair? So just from, that's what you were talking about. So even from a very practical level, this is what I would do. I would go here first. I would go to my PulseX, go to info, press V2, and then you'll see a list of the top pools here. So this is one way of finding it. But you have to consider that these top pools might already have too much liquidity in them, and they might only be shining right now. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't go in them. But for example, this DAI and Pulsechain has 7.8, and that's the volume. Sorry, where's our liquidity? 857k liquidity. I mean, you're probably never really going to find this kind of yield with the DAI and Pulsechain. But in any case, I'd look here. I'd also look with liquidity pools versal.app. So that link is in the description. I'd enter the contract address. I'd do a scan, and then I'd start looking through here. Then I can get some of these pool addresses, and I can enter some of these pool addresses here. So let's just pick one here. Which one would you like to explore now, Bud? Just out of curiosity. RJC, never even heard of that.
Yeah. What was that one you showed that had like 187%? That was DAI Teddy. Was that right?
That was, oh my gosh, even more. That's DAI.
Well, no, go down to DAI Teddy. It was like number 10 or something, number 9.
Oh, DAI Teddy, 182%. Yep.
So those are both in the Atropa system, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So if you're providing liquidity there, and you understand the liquidity bonding, then, and that is a freak number, 182.9%. Like that's not going to be a permanent thing. But if you're in it right now, man, like you are crushing it. This is what I said the other day, Steve. And I was looking at some of the places I'm providing liquidity, and I am absolutely killing it on token count, right? So, and that's all that matters, man. So there's economic opportunity here. So if you're a part of this, if you chose the side of light instead of the side of trash, then you're going to see the value of your tokens go up. And just for your own sake, please look at that as principle. Don't, whatever you get in this, whatever your token count is, just commit to yourself that you're not going to sell it, and that you're going to provide liquidity, and that's going to create lifestyle chips.
Look at this. This is like a liquidity provider's dream. Sideways action.
Yeah.
Within a channel. Obviously, it's pushed out of the channel because there's been, well, I mean, it's pushed out of the channel in the favor of pDAI, ironically enough, because Teddy Bear's also been savaged. But even though but this is a freak period of time. It's still very, very like 300. Okay, it drops down here. It's had a big period here. It had a big period here during December. So it's still a very, very good liquidity pool. And it's only got 131,000 liquidity in there at the minute, which is probably also a testament to the fact that everything is so cheap and down in price at the moment. But only 13.68 trillion teddy bear. That's a lot, but it's not a lot. I've had discussions with people who've had trillions of teddy bear. And so if you start, basically what you're proposing is putting this in liquidity. You've got $100 on either side. You're getting 182% a day. Sorry, this is on a 7-day basis. Again, this is not a fixed thing. And then then you're obviously going to get a percentage of that. And so you're just taking out the excess.
Yeah. Yeah. So like let's just do some real simple math here, right? Like let's say that you put $100 on each side of a trading pair right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And dies at what, like a third of a penny?
Mm-hmm.
Is that approximate? So you're looking at a 300x on the money. So take $200 and multiply it by 300. Are you working your calculator?
Take, sorry, $200 multiplied by 300, did you say?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's $60,000. Okay. Now, so that would be the value that you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we get this run up, like if we get a 300x, then let's just say this won't stay consistent, but let's use it because it's what it is. Then take 60,000 and multiply that by 182.99%.
So that's 109,794. But then what you then then the next piece of math is that what you actually get of that is based on the percentage of the pool that you own.
No, well, yes, okay. So that's already calculated in this number. That's the APY on the money. What you're talking about would be if you were trying to figure that on volume. So what you see right there, it already has that calculated. If you want to figure volume on this, you would take the daily volume, multiply it by 0.22%, and then you would multiply that number by your position in the liquidity pool. And that would give you the percentage of the daily yield that you would get. This number right here tells you the APY. So your 60,000 would generate 109,794 because it's 182%.
Wow.
Now, I'm not telling you those are going to stay there. This is a freak thing right now. But it compounds inside of your position, brother. Right?
Yeah. It's a freak thing, bud, but it's also not really that freaky of a thing. So today, the daily volume, what's the volume today? March 24, 111,000.46K. But for the last, 3 months, we've had days of 269, 395, 146, 378, 170. Let's go to some of the lower numbers so it's not completely biased. 97, 100. Like it's 31. These are some lower numbers. Obviously, during this period, it was very quiet. During this period, it was very, very good. So for the last 3 months, you could probably pretty confidently say that 182 is probably a pretty decent average, 182% over these last 3 months.
Right.
That's not something to be scoffed at.
No. And this, if you have the courage now to be a part of it and set aside the boo birds, right? And hold your convictions. And that was a simple example of just putting $100 on each side of a pair, right? And then if you want to take lifestyle chips off, and every single day you get yield, right? But whatever that token count is in your LP, promise yourself you won't ever sell it, because you will be able to skin, or you'll be able to shear that sheep until you die or the chain dies. Now you're financially independent. Now your money's working for you. You're making money all the time, even when you're sleeping.
And even to address this point, so Hyde, my apologies, it probably is the 414 wallet with no nukes, but that's a good thing as a liquidity provider. People selling tokens is a good thing as a liquidity provider. And if you don't know that no nukes is a mintable token that people mint and send to Maria, and then Maria dumps it and then spreads out liquidity out through the system, then it's probably a good idea to explore a little bit more about what the Atropa ecosystem is before kind of accepting these little FUD things at face value, because these are the kinds of things that people will say in these Twitter spaces all day. Oh, the Atropa, I mean, you originally said Atropa is being minted and dumped, but it's not. It's no nukes. And I heard it again the other day, but it's not. It's Treasury Bill. And Treasury Bill was explicitly stated in Amsterdam that Maria mints it and sells it and spreads the liquidity out through the ecosystem. So as a liquidity provider, this event that you're talking about as being negative is actually extremely bullish, because all that volume of dumping goes into your liquidity pools. This is a completely different 180-degree mind shift, completely different 180 degrees. So,
and see, this right here was what I said when we first started. This Yardbird put something up to try to distract from a positive conversation that takes us 30 sentences to explain to him. This is how you stop progress, right? This is why I told you I don't have time for that. Like, I don't have time for these people that are just hating in the world and are vile. This doesn't help.
Ignorance. Sometimes it is ignorance, and I want to just make it, that some people will be feeling like that. So okay, all right. So yeah, now it's getting trolly. So yeah, let's just move on then. So we've addressed that. So we'll move on. Yeah. So now it's getting trolly. So you it's a difficult thing, bud. Sometimes you want to help people to learn, and maybe they're just they don't have the right pieces of information. But if they don't want to learn and don't want to accept, then that's okay. So I love what you're trying to say, but how do you think we can encourage people to do this? Because obviously people will just do what they want, and people's mindset is still dollar value go up, Lamborghini win. That's crypto journey. People's mindset around crypto is not this kind of mindset, but this is the kind of mindset that I've really gravitated to, this idea of passive yield, passive income, a sustainable, let's win together kind of ecosystem. How do you think we can help build that mindset into the community?
Well, we just have to keep talking about it, and we just have to be a positive force that people come to and listen, right? And this is why I don't look at comments when we're like in any stream, man. I don't look at comments. I went back through and looked at some, and I appreciate the positive sentiment from some people, but there's just so much negativity out there, and you can't. All they want to do, it's crabs in a pot, is to continue to hold you down. And we'll just keep being the light and talking about the positive. And if people choose to listen, then they're going to live a better life. If they choose to hate and think they know things that they don't know, hey, I can't do anything for you, right? Like, if you think I don't know what I'm doing, don't listen to me. That's real easy. You're not going to hurt my feelings, right? Like, I I'm pretty financially sound, man. I've spent years learning about financial independence, what to do. And a lot of it, like the very first time you and I talked, I was trying to tell people about like traditional ways of doing things, but that was a waste of time. What I think I can be the most helpful with is showing people the opportunity, just like we walk through, right? It's here. You don't have to go into traditional finance to achieve these goals. It's all right here. Just, and all you have to do is to treat your money as an employee, treat your tokens as an employee, let them work for you, let them work and let them provide you with enough lifestyle so that you can be the purest version of yourself. You can go out into the world and do what you're meant to do instead of having to be a slave to the financial system.
But if you don't mind, maybe would I'm not sure if you've ever mentioned it before, but would you like to share like how your history in the sense of what you did for work and possibly when you retired and your experience with all of this as well? Do you think that's something that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I can give some context. So, I grew up in a single parent household. Didn't have much guidance or education. I was wild when I was young. I've moved all over, man. I've lived in 8 states and in the U.S. and the first career path I chose, it was my passion. But the economics didn't make sense, and I didn't know at that point in my life much about economics. And so then I started to evolve and go back on skills that I had, and I had started I started a construction company and started performing, doing work, started making good money with that. Grew that business to a pretty large size. I have land and cattle, and I raise grass-fed, grass-finished beef. I don't use petrochemical fertilizers. I do everything organic. And
Wow.
yeah. And a cow-calf operation is basically the same thing, man. It's like my cows are my principal and the yield is the calves, right? So I take that stuff, I try to live with the land, not on it. Yeah, that is George Washington behind me. It's important to me. I've always been very health conscious, and I wanted to provide people in my community a healthier option. So I have a USDA inspected plant that I use. So I sell my beef to people that I know. So that was just something that I could do in my micro community to help make the world better. I've I built an RV park, built that business pretty big. I've got another adventure I'm looking at right now. I don't want to speak about it until we're in contracts right now. We're negotiating.
That's fair.
But it's going to be a really good thing, a really positive thing in this world. And like the idea when I built the RV park was I was trying to build a community for people where they could raise, like I originally started it with little garden plots. I wanted to give people an opportunity. Unfortunately, people showed me that they weren't interested in that. So I had to adapt to the conditions on the ground. I wanted to make like this little, the original idea was an agricultural community. Like I built it on my farm where I raised my beef. I had pasture raised chickens and all this stuff, right? And I built this park in the middle of it, and I set aside these little garden plots because to me that was how I viewed the world, and I wanted everybody to be able to live in a place where they had access to healthy products. But unfortunately, that the people that became residents of my park had no interest. So I think that was like I did that idea like 6 years ago. I was just ahead of my time. You know, in the United States now we have Bobby Kennedy and you have the MAHA movement, and there's this push to it now of people trying to live a healthier life. So, there's it wasn't a bad idea. It was just too early. The timing wasn't right. So anyway, there's that. I spent a lot of time in learning about finance, shared with you some of the books that I'm self-taught, right? Like I went to college on a rodeo scholarship. We used to ride bucking horses. My first career path, I was a horse trainer. Like I'm kind of a cowboy at heart, man. And it's just I spent time educating myself, and the beauty of the internet is it's the dissemination of information, man. There's nothing you can't learn. It's all out there, right? So I just started learning, and I found cryptocurrency back in like 2015, 2016. Started with Bitcoin, obviously, went through Ethereum and the ICO craze and all that stuff, man. So like I've taken my lashes. I've done well in this space, but it's been a rough adventure. So I know a lot of the history. Like I went to some of Jeff Berwick's conferences down there in Mexico, in Acapulco. What were the name of those things? Oh gosh, I forget. It'll come to me. Anyway, like I
Who's
met.
Jeff Berwick? Sorry, is he some sort of?
Oh, he was a big guy back, like in 2015, 16, 17. Berwick was huge, man. Like these conferences were the conference for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I met Roger Ver there. I was called Anarchapulco. That's what it was. It's called Anarchapulco. And I went there the year that Bitcoin, you had the Bitcoin Cash dispute, right? And I met the dev that discovered the inflation bug in Bitcoin. It was a Bitcoin Cash developer, and he disclosed it, and so they were able to patch it. Right? So it's interesting now that you have pDAI with a inflation bug, right? It's going to die. Yeah. Well, Bitcoin had already been to 20K, $20,000, and it had an inflation bug in it.
Really?
And the work of this, yes.
What year was the inflation bug?
Well, it was discovered after, so you had that run up to 20, right? And then there was the block wars, right? The block size wars, because guys like Roger Ver talked about crypto, like they wanted Bitcoin to be digital cash, right? And so they wanted a block size increase. And Bitcoin had already started to be corrupted. And so that's why Roger forked into Bitcoin Cash, because he wanted Bitcoin to be a peer-to-peer currency. And unfortunately for Roger, it just didn't take off, right? But during that dispute, that's like what, I don't know if you remember, but Richard used to refer to Bitcoin as having spaghetti code, and every time they update it, it's very challenging, and there's a lot of flaws that can be exploited, right? So that's why they don't want to. I'm not a dev. I'm just kind of parroting some things that I've been told.
Sure.
But that's why they don't want to update the underlying SHA-256 code, right? It's because there's a danger of an inflation bug being found and it being exploited. If that Bitcoin Cash developer was a black hat, he could have minted 1 billion Bitcoin and killed crypto. Because back then, there was just Bitcoin and Ethereum. So this whole thing, this whole ethos is here because of one guy. It was because of that guy. And it was really cool. I got to meet him. We visited. And that was at Jeff Berwick's deal. So yeah, man, I've seen a lot of stuff, and I've seen the manipulation tactics that have been used in this space. And I think right now, like I thought about it this morning, what's going on with the Atropa Pt I deal feels a lot like the cerveza sickness, right? Like
The what sickness?
Like during the times of COVID,
right?
And the vaccine, and man, I was screaming to people, please don't take it, please don't take it. I was looking at all of like the fern cleavage sites and listening to virologists, and unfortunately now people are starting to have issues with it. And but the majority of people, man, like 75 to 80% of people in America took the shot. And I hope there's no long-term repercussions of that. And there's things that people can currently do if they did to heal that injury. But like this amount of vitriol is very similar to what I've personally felt during like the COVID vax deal, right? So
you mean the debate and vitriol between the two opposing sides of pDAI?
Right. Right. And the way I resolved it in my mind was everybody's a sovereign individual and they get to make their own choices in this world. And, some people were forced to take it. I know you said the other day that you were forced to take it, but there's products out there that'll help get that spike protein out of you. Like there's things you can do to heal your body. So, but you just have to let people be people, man. Like I'll try to tell you what I think is right, but I'm not an oracle. I'm just a guy that puts on my pants one leg at a time with an opinion. You can trust me or not. Perfect.
So let's obviously, I mean, this is still a very hot topic, and we were talking about Wolf's stream. So there was that 6-hour stream, and you were saying that was the energy there was really crazy. So what, we're talking about this split, this division between the two sides of the debate. It really seems like I feel like we're in the minority. It's certainly
Absolutely.
in the minority of like quote unquote influencers were in the minority. I don't know if the holding patterns were in the minority or if it's a split 50-50 split, but in terms of the influencers, we're by and large the minority. So what was, I was only in there for about 5 minutes. What was it like? What was your
Well,
takeaway?
it was a great stream. Uh, you know, they were having like Somi came on, and then Somi and Fast Abdul were getting after each other, and Fast Abdul is ardently against the pDAI and Atropa idea. So Somi held his ground, and they had a dev on there that was
House.
House. Yeah,
Mm.
and he was like, Fast Abdul kept talking over him, which I didn't like. But House was saying, we've had three or four guys working for, I think he said 3 days, trying to replicate the mint, like trying to do what the Vietnamese guy did, right? The supposed Vietnamese guy.
Mm.
And they work through it, and every time they get to the point where they're going to mint, it always meant zero. And you can't fix a bug if you can't replicate a bug. And his conclusion at the time, and they're still working, is that this 5996 wallet had backend access into the MakerDAO, right? Because they can't do it. Nobody's been able to replicate this bug. So is it a bug? Is it an inflation bug? Or is this just part of the process?
Mm. It definitely feels to me like it's part of the process. And watching this number go down radically today, it started off in the 500s for me. Obviously, now I've been up for however many hours, 15 hours. So this started in the 500s. It was very slow for the first few days that this website came out. It lingered around 800, 900. Now, very quickly, it went from 5, 4, 3, 2 in one day. And there was a reason for it, which I covered in my previous video, but I have forgotten now. But yeah, this is something again where I mentioned this in one of the groups. And as soon as I mentioned it, people straight away were like on the attack. Nobody even wants to even consider this perspective. Nobody can provide any evidence. We're just listening only to what Richard Hart says. And it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing because Richard is obviously someone that we've all listened to get us to where we are, but not everyone is perfect.
Right. What did Nine Iron say in the flop auction? There's going to be 230 some thousand maker tokens. Is that correct?
220,000. Yeah. So basically, there was a tweet. I just did a video on it, but yeah, there was a tweet. And when this gets to zero, basically there's like three avenues that it can take. So one of the avenues is basically the 5996 wallet can start buying out the P maker with the pDAI. So that will burn the pDAI, reducing the supply. And then they can take control of the governance. The other one was the middle option, which I liked the most, is where the community can do it and it needs a lot less, and they can just reset the ownership or remove the admin keys. And then the other one is basically, the third option is to nuke the whole process, which is the least favorable.
Well, doesn't it just take 150,000 maker tokens to get rid of the minting bug in the ESM?
I think so. I think so from memory. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up the tweet so we can at least be clear on the facts. So 99 Capital.
I think that wasn't in 9 irons, that the 150,000 for the ESM. That might have been You covered it. Oh, something Nana. I don't follow it, but do you remember the explanation? I think it was in your last video, Stephen.
Yeah, I know, but I will say things, and then I need to say it a few times for it to really sink into my brain. So, are you
Gotcha.
talking about this particular thing? So, this was where the 220,000.
Yes. Yeah. But there was the other tweet referenced the 150,000 maker tokens that could, if you have 150,000 maker, then in the code that you can turn off the minting.
Ah, yes, I do remember that. Was that one of his tweets? I don't
It was
remember.
not 99, it was the other. I guess I just need to go through and find it.
Yeah, because there's a lot. There's just been so much
Yeah.
content.
Oh, information's coming so fast, man.
Yeah, really fast. So trying to keep up with everything is just, it's very difficult. So yeah, okay. But in any case,
Oh, we'll find it. Yeah, so like this is just the path that we're on, right? Like we're gonna have this. We're going through the roughest, most volatile thing right now, and once we have this flop auction and 220,000 maker tokens get printed, then there's no chance that the people on Ethereum can come over and manipulate the DAO. The majority
mm,
ownership will be held,
mm,
right? That's why I said in the last stream, that's why Richard printed 12 billion extra pDAI tokens at launch. Why would you do that unless you're going to use the pDAI to burn to acquire maker?
yeah,
I mean, tell me why you inflate the supply unless it's, and the only reason to inflate the supply by that number is to use those tokens to take over the MakerDAO.
exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking as well.
Okay, then once control's been established, then there's no threat. And
Mm,
now you actually are DAI. You're the actual, because there is no more DAI on Ethereum. It's Sky, right?
mm, exactly. The whole thing has changed.
This will be the only, like the only decentralized stablecoin, the only one.
Mm, exactly.
So like I, I'm not going to say that it's just an opinion. I'm just looking at the facts on the ground. I'm watching the things happening, and we'll know a lot after this flop auction. Um, also, that 5996 wallet that
Mm,
they have, um, they've showed connection to that wallet with other wallets that have actively participated in back-end work in the maker.
yes, correct. Correct.
And that's the supposed wallet that is selling DAI for dong, right?
I didn't. I didn't know that. The die for dong. I didn't know that.
Right? Like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's so.
Scam Long Dong has a bigger PP than Richard then. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're gonna get answers here real quick, man.
Mm,
This flop auction is going to tell us a ton.
Yeah, it is. It
Um,
is. Exactly. That's all I'm focused on. So just like Grandpa Pulse is asking here, yes, this was over 900,000. I think when I first saw this, this was maybe like 4 or 5 days ago. I can't remember when this
mhm.
whole chaotic thing happened. I think it was, yeah, maybe 4 or 5 days ago. So yeah, it's really dropped a lot. It's really dropped a lot. So, and the fact that everybody just wants to assume that this person is malicious. And I feel like a lot of those assumptions come from, yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I just feel like it comes from bag bias, but I've mentioned that so many times. So, but
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, so what else was discussed in the St. Wolf's? Was there anything else? So there was housing and Fast Abdul. So there's this clear division, this clear split.
Yeah, there was a clear split, and there's it was really great. I mean, it's really high energy. Like Somi's fun to watch, right?
He is.
Um, yeah, and he was holding his own, and um, they were they trying to think what was the key takeaways. House's point of view is really important. Covering all of Richard's tweets, you know, Richard in the past, and they covered this. They said that if something's a scam, Richard won't talk about it.
Yeah, the something diome or something like a scam diode or something like this, or risk diode or something like this. Yeah. And then somebody went on to say that it had like 18 tweets, the most that he's ever tweeted about anything.
Right. And it's not the first time he's tweeted about DAI. I mean, he's shown the chart of DAI like 6 times, right? In a
Mm,
positive manner.
mm.
But, you know, now when you're on the precipice of something, you want to disassociate yourself from it. Okay. So now he's going to come out and publicly shame it, but he's still talking about it. And all of crypto is talking about this, right? Like all the setup is there for this to be the most viral thing in crypto, maybe ever.
But it is already like it's really it's getting everywhere. And then I don't know if you also the decentralized me marketing campaign now is really it started to ramp up. So even today there was a pDAI is the most decentralized stable coin on the planet post that was
Mhm.
posted out. So it's like the momentum of this thing is really people are seeing people are seeing they're not talking about it on other blockchains, they're just watching this chaos unfold, but they're seeing it all right. How could they not? It's
Right.
everywhere.
And if this thing goes as we think it will, you know how bananas the marketing's going to be just for that? Do you think,
Mm.
I mean, you think this isn't going to draw people over to Pulse?
Of course it is.
Of course it is. Like,
Mm.
this is the biggest marketing event that anybody could ever ask for. Like, if I'm Richard, I'm loving this. And
Mm.
if this is correct and DAI goes to $1, this is going to be this is historical. This is going to be a moment in crypto that will live in infamy.
I completely agree, Bud. I think this is okay. Let me. Okay, why? I mean, I'm pretty sure I know your answer based on our previous streams, but in case there's new watchers, why for you is it is it that kind of a moment for you?
It's the reestablishment of what crypto's original intent is, to change man's relationship with money, to give man possession of his assets.
Now, I was discussing this with Hexmac in tweets, and I was talking about how I see this as I'm not looking at this as just something that's this cheap and it will eventually get to $1. The thing that you said about the technology to be able to stabilize value, how do you think this can be applied, or how do you think this idea or technology can be utilized in a country that's struggling in this world? Like, let's just say some third world country. They can't do anything in a world with the US dollar dominance. Would
Right.
they be able to pick up and adapt a technology like this and utilize it in a way that can lift their country out of the third world? Is
Yeah, I
that
mean, we
something
got to
that
get a
you
lot
think
more. We got to get a lot more economic mass to it, right? Like this is the birthing of it. But if you look back at the IRC chats, some of the very first IRC chats, Maria's intent was to create an ecosystem for the BRICS countries. That was stated in the IRC. Right? Those are
Yep.
emerging markets. And just like I said last time, man, because of the Russia-Ukraine situation and the United States under Biden made a huge mistake when they started weaponizing the SWIFT system and they froze Russian assets, right? Because that showed the rest of the world that we can't trust it. And it really threatened the dollar hegemony. And so now you're going to have a place where these emerging markets will be able to store value in a dollar because it's, I mean, like it or not, there's nothing that can compete with the dollar. And there's nobody that wants to compete with the dollar. Like everybody says China does. No, they don't. And they can't. Like the only reason the financial system worked for as long as it did was because of the trade deficits that we have supported in the United States. We've supported the rest of the world. Like, watch what happens now that these tariffs go live. I mean, you're going to see Canada get crushed. We support their economy by $200 billion a year, right? And now we're going with equal tariffs. So there's nothing as big or as strong as the US dollar.
No.
And no country wants to take on that problem. So let the dollar be the reserve currency. But all these other countries, because of whether it's, political turmoil or whatever, their currencies fluctuate a lot against the dollar. And so that makes it really hard to get debt in emerging markets. That makes it hard for banks to write loans because there's no stability in their currency. But when you decentralize the value and you allow emerging markets to come in and stabilize value, then a country can have a stable economy and they can start to build, right? Like, and that was the intent. Look at the original IRCs. It's all been stated publicly. You're just not, people just don't connect the dots.
Sure.
So this is the biggest thing for emerging markets and foreign countries. Like I'm in the United States, right? But like in Argentina, they had a hyperinflationary event, right? Now they've got it stabilized, but there was days that it was like they had inflation rates at like 70% in a day. So when people would get cash, they would immediately go get into other goods because there is nowhere to stabilize value.
So do you perceive it as something where literally people are being onboarded into Pulsechain, or is it something where people are creating their own version of this kind of a system?
Well, there could be, what you have to have is a sufficiently decentralized blockchain that then has a decentralized stable coin on it,
Mhm.
right? And we are living right now through how hard it is to establish that, right? We're living through the birthing pains of
Mm.
that. So there could be, it could all work through Pulsechain, or, you know, you can have bridging in and liquidity webbing, right? Like, let's say the volume on Pulse gets too high. Well, just fork it and then have a bridge that comes across and ties to that value. And then you can create that much more space in a blockchain for more transactions. Like if a country needed it, right? They could lock the value of their via burnt liquidity, right? This brand new concept, this new technology to the world that Maria introduced by taking and creating a pair and then putting it into the burned address, right? So now you can take a value and you can lock it. So if you start another blockchain and you take 50% of your supply of a stable on there, put it in to the value with uh, with DAI, send that value to the burn address. Now you got a starting place. So there will be horizontal integration, and that's something Richard talked about. Like in his, he talked about it as hamburger stands. You can only sell so many hamburgers out of one store. So what do? You just open another store. That's what a
Mm.
blockchain is, man. It's a hamburger store,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
But this is the cutting edge. We are on the absolute cutting edge of finance. There's new innovation that's happening. Like, it, where does this go? I mean, now we're like, that's very theoretical, right? It's exciting to watch it, but for all of these people that have been suppressed throughout the world because of economic hitmen or whatever it may be, you're gonna you're going to give people the ability to stabilize to stabilize their money. And what money represents, it's a store of your time, it's a store of your effort, right? You only get money through work. So that's why like inflation's so terrible, is because it's stealing from you the value that you gave up moments of your life for something, and then through taxation and inflation it's stripped from you, right? But
Mm.
if you have a stable asset that can't be manipulated, then everybody throughout the world is going to be on a level playing field. And that's decentralized blockchains are no different than humanity, right? Like the best part of humanity is every sovereign individual. Like give people the ability to just be what they were born to be, right? Like that's how we all rise up together.
I mean, I absolutely align myself with that idea, but I guess I'm thinking too far ahead. I mean, even in terms of volume and liquidity, it requires an influx of money. It requires more liquidity. So this idea of I think it's a I think it's an idea that needs to shift. I think a lot of people have the mindset that I'm just going to put my money into crypto, I'm going to wait, and then I'm going to retire in a few years. And then that becomes dead economic energy, because if that person then just becomes someone who's not producing anything in the world, that money becomes stagnant in the system. If they're just retiring and extracting, which obviously goes back to this original, this idea of the bug that we've identified. But then what would incentivize people to want to move their assets around and generate liquidity and keep money flowing in the system?
Well, assets don't buy happiness, right? Like, I reached a point in my life where I could slow down. And I did for like 3 or 4 years, slowed down.
Like
And
retirement kind of slow down, or?
yeah,
Okay.
pseudo, sort
Yep.
of. And that doesn't make me happy. What makes me happy is to build, to grow, to find an idea and to push it. And if being lazy should not be anybody's idea of happiness. Like, find something in the world that you're passionate about, right? Like, there's things that this new adventure that, and I'll share it once I get the business side of it done, but I haven't got it done yet. But this is something that's going to create a lot of good in the world. And it's going to take a lot of work, and I'm really excited about it, right? Like, I could pick up a set of golf clubs and go play golf all day, but what the hell does that do, man? That doesn't do nothing. I could go on vacations, I could buy fancy stuff. For what? Like, it doesn't do anything. I need to feel like I'm a part of this world. I'm an active part of this world that's creating value. And there's an opportunity here for a lot of people to be able to reach a phase of their life where their economics are stable enough where then they can pursue their passion. And if your passion is a shiny car, you haven't done the work on yourself. Dig deeper. Find out what you really want to do. Like, man, it could be coaching kids in football. It could be serving your community some way. Whatever it is, and just because you pick it today doesn't mean you have to do it in a year, but just continue to be a positive force in this world, right? Like, for me, I'm all over the place, man. I do a lot of different stuff. ADD, ADHD, whatever it may be. But if I'm interested in it, I'm all in on it. So, like, if you have a mindset that I'm going to get rich and I'm going to like buy a fancy car so that I can chase women. Okay, well, you're still in the aesthetic phase of life. I would encourage you to read existentialist philosophers like Soren Kierkegaard, who talked about the 3 phases. You have the aesthetic, the ethical, and the religious. And as you age, your priorities shift. I'm sorry?
Is that a progression? You start with the aesthetic, the ethical, and then the religious? Does he state that? Wow, interesting. Wow, okay.
Yeah, that's Soren Kierkegaard. So one of the things I've noticed as I've gotten older is my hierarchical structure of needs has shifted. Things I used to think were the most important are not the most important anymore. Right?
Do you think people need to undergo that process? Or, I mean, is there any... I'm just not sure that even saying to people that those things are worthless, if their mind is really wanting that thing, then they're going to chase it, and then they're going to have to experience that it's worthless.
Yeah.
Is there anything to say for that?
Yes, you're right. This, most people have to make all their own mistakes. They can't learn from the mistakes of others. And that's an unfortunate thing. Right? But if you think that, like, let's say that what's going to make you happy in your mind, let's say it's a new car. Okay. Well, instead of spending $100,000, spend 30 and go feel what that new car does for you. right? Go feel that, because in a moment, it's going to be gone. And you'll be like, well, that wasn't as great as I thought, but at least it didn't cost you so much, right?
Mm.
So if you
Mm.
have to learn, if you have to make all of your own mistakes, just try to make them as economical as possible.
Oh. Yeah.
Because as you age, like it shifts, man. You know, um, the things that bring me happiness today would not have brought me happiness in my 20s.
Mm.
And I'm just in a different phase of my life, and I only have the wisdom of somebody my age, right?
Mm.
Like I don't know what it is to be 55 or 65. Like I don't know how I'll feel then about different
Mm.
things. But I accept the fact that I'm an evolving sentient being on this planet, and I give myself the permission to do different things and to have different priorities.
Mm.
So if you have a thought that you're a material item will bring me happiness, I would just I would encourage you to work on yourself, like go through all the existentialists like Kierkegaard, Nietzsche, read Jordan Peterson's work, even like the Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius is good. If you really want to hate yourself, like spend time on the social stuff. Like what was that? Um, oh gosh, I can't remember because it's so vile. Uh, Actually, I don't even want to tell you what it is. How about that? It's nasty. It's basically what left socialism and Marxism was built around and leftist ideas. So it's probably best if you don't know.
Okay.
But there's all these different philosophies, and find something that suits you, right?
Mm.
So we just start to learn, start to figure it out. We have and I'll tie all this back in.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to be the light in the world, we there has to be enough of us that are a positive force for good in a decentralized ecosystem, right?
Yes.
So you, I'm trying to tell you, I'm not telling you to not enjoy the profits that could potentially be made here in a relative near term. I'm just telling you to view a portion of that as your principle that you will never sell, that you will always put to work, and then
Mm.
enjoy the fruits of the labor of that principle. Don't sell your
Mm.
principle, because then you go from having something to having nothing. You skinned your sheep, right? Just share it.
Mm.
And that all goes back to the liquidity webs and the
Mm.
APY.
Yeah. It appears people have already even started maybe even putting some into this one. So,
Good for them. That's great.
hmm. And there's countless examples.
Like maybe 10,000 pools or something like that. Like it's a
Mm.
bananas number.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, here's another one. I mean, it's a Pulsechain one, but if we take away DAI, I mean, that's insane.
802%.
2%. I mean, that is insane. And
Right.
so today it's 39K. Again, it's been pretty consistently that kind of a volume. I would say the last 3 months that has been an average amount of volume since since December. So that's the last 3 months. Since the start of December, so really almost 4 months. You could say that that's an average amount of volume that it's had. So
in 3 months' time at 800, you've almost doubled your initial token count.
Yeah. It's really, and it compounds. This is the thing. This is the thing where, this is why I really gravitated a lot to Sonny's Pub, because there was a lot of this teachings of providing liquidity and what this can actually mean, and taking away the trader's mindset, because trading is inevitably stressful. There's an element of stress there that you can't escape from. It's, I mean, maybe one
Player
day you
versus
get to some
player.
level of mastery. What's that? Sorry?
It's player versus player.
Exactly. It's player versus player. I still can't fully visualize in my mind, and I think it's impossible, but I still can't fully visualize how, like, if everybody participates in just providing liquidity, the traders are the ones that are pushing volume around the ecosystem. So it's almost like, I don't know if it's the right word, but it's a necessary evil. Without the traders, there's no volume.
Right. Yeah, they have a place, right? So look at your current token count that you're going to put into liquidity. Look at that as your cows. And then whenever you want to take yield, that's your calves. But don't ever sell your cows, man. And then some days, like in some of these pairs, like and the cattle market does this, right? Like some years cattle will be trading at $1. The next year they're at $1.50. So the dividend can go up or down. It fluctuates, and that's okay, right? But just in your own mind, just decide that you're not going to sell your principal. Right. And then whatever the yield is whatever the traders determine it's worth. Right.
But do you think these hex OGs, which are fleecing Pulsechain, for lack of a better word, do you think that's what they're doing though? Will they have been just selling their yield and then not selling down their principal?
I think they were only selling yield, but then, like I said, man, Richard cut the yield. The inflation in hex went down, so now they were going to have to start selling principal in order to maintain the dollar value, right? So before Richard, or the OA, I should be more careful about how I say that. When the OA went in and staked everything out and killed all the yield in hex, my personal belief is that he recognized that the community was a virus and they were doing nothing but extracting value. And because hex is that immutable lock smart contract, there's nothing you can do inside of it, right? You can't change it. You can't roll back time. So what he had to do is kill the inflation. So then these people that are dependent upon so much money, dollar value, every single month, every single year, whatever it may be, those people that are dependent upon that yield, well, in order to get the yield they want, then they're going to have to start selling principal and all the interest. And it's going to take time, but over time, they're going to sell their bags down enough where the hex code will be able to heal, right? And because of this rolling stake, the price of a T-share in hex terms is constantly going up. So to be able to reacquire, every time your hex stake ends, if you're doing a short rolling stake, you're not going to be able to buy back at the same level because the price moves up in hex terms. So like if a T-share was 50,000 and you were able to buy, you bought just one T share. Well, with the yield being so low, by the time, like if you stake it for a month, you might get like, you might turn your 50, let's just say to 55. Well, it might cost you 58 to buy that T share back. So now all the principal and the yield won't buy you back into your position. And that's how the hex code heals itself, by killing the inflation. And what needs healed is the virus that is the community that's basically vampire attacking the code.
I know it's going to be impossible to say, but as a percentage, how much would you guess of those OGs would be doing this kind of behavior?
I have no idea. I have no idea. You know, I'm using provocative language and including all of them, right? I'm a Hex OG, but I'm staked 15 years. I've got ladder stakes out, and I'm not equity stripping that. Whenever a stake comes due, it just gets restaked. I'm in it. Like, I'm not taking value from the system. So it's obviously not all of us. I can exclude myself. And I'm sure there's a lot there. I shouldn't say I'm sure. I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't communicate with those people. I don't want to communicate with those people. I've been able to look at this objectively and identify what the virus is. And even if it's just five, if it's just 5 people, you know, you want me to tell you the sangria story again?
But
right?
can it ever be? I guess I'm trying to be optimistic. I want to be optimistic and positive. My concern is that the economic power that they would have is still, because I mean, I talk to a lot of hexicans who seem to, they're putting in money every quarter or every week or whatever, and they're getting bled dry, and somebody's taking it out of the system, and it's not them. So,
well, maybe they need to update their worldview and invest in something that's not being bled dry.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, look, man, I'm in on Hex, right? But I think, and I'm talking, I hate saying it because it's not what I want, but what I want doesn't matter. I think Hex has a virus. The inflation will stay down for a very long time, at least probably 5 years is an estimate, with very low inflation in order to shake out the bad actors. And that's what it is. Unfortunately, bad people got a hold of the Hex contract early, and they started equity stripping. So here we are in the Atropa system, building something beautiful. If you want to be a part of it, don't be one of the guys that comes in and equity strips. Buy your value up, right? Let's not do it again. Let's be what we're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's something that I've been trying to bring into existence for a long time with the Atropa movement episodes, and talk about the mindset behind it and try to nurture that mindset. And I think it's really just going to take something where it's going to take continual discussion, continual openness about it, and just focusing on the building side of things in a positive way that benefits everybody. I think there's even a lot to be said about these tax tokens and rewards tokens. I know people that are building out, literally just making tax tokens of every single token on the chain. So it's just not every single token, but like let's say hundreds. This is just continual volume that flows around the chain. That's a very positive thing. That's a very positive thing. So when we talk about traders, maybe the trading gets reduced over time, and then what increases over time is just the fluctuations of prices here and there, which triggers tax token volume, which triggers just continuous tax token volume across the chain.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the Atropa system, because of the leveling of it, the R bots, that's constant volume, right? Constant volume. So, like right now, man, the price is in the tank across the board. But the volumes are high, right? So if we maintain this level of token movement and we get price appreciation, we're going to skyrocket past Solana, like no
Yes,
problem.
easy, easy, easy.
Yeah, but you're not going to be liked by the Pulse community. I don't give a shit. Like I said, I ain't here to make friends, brother. I don't care. I don't care if anybody likes me. I am speaking my truth. And if you don't like it, turn it off. Right? I don't care.
He stands shoulder to shoulder with you. I do as well, bud. So most wanted three. Did you see the meme? So we had most one, obviously most, and then there was most two, which is scam long dong. I was like, oh my god, this community is just, sometimes the memes are so good. So this is an interesting comment. So dislike all these 5% tax tokens, PHEX, tiny most, some pDAI, that's all. I mean, so again, like the tax tokens are just sending the tax tokens. So there's tax tokens for all of those tokens though. So it's creating yield. What's creating perpetual buy pressure. If anything, if this is the thing that people are not realizing with these tax tokens is if you've got a tax token here, but it's bonded with, let's just say for argument's sake, 5 tokens. As soon as this token here moves, or this token here moves, and then your tax token here is actually with just hex, this token moves, which is, I don't know, teddy bear, then it creates fluctuations in this pool, which is going to create buy pressure for hex. That's the beauty of these tax tokens and the liquidity webbing. So it's not direct buy pressure, but it's continual buy pressure that's interconnected across the blockchain. That's the real beauty of this. That's the beauty of the web that Maria has created. It's a wonderful thing. It's a really, really wonderful thing. So at first, I think it's taken me a long time to kind of really like tax tokens or really understand what they are. It's like, well, okay, well, you know, the tax token itself keeps going down. What's so good about that? But then as a buy and hold thing, maybe not necessarily it's the best thing. You might be better off just buying the actual token, it's the asset itself. But as a system-wide benevolent force, it's like a beautiful, beautiful thing when you think about it like this. So yeah, I do really like tax.
Is going to create volume, brother. So in volume, if you're providing liquidity and an LP, the volume is what generates dividend. So the more the merrier. And plus, how great is it that people get the opportunity to try? Like, if you want to create a tax token, try. It works, it doesn't. Okay, if it doesn't, you learn something, try again. Try something else. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I just see so much opportunity here, but that's why I contacted you about doing these streams. There comes a point where like some people just need to have things set a certain way and for them to start to learn and to understand. And when you get into like technical chops, it can be very difficult. And I feel like I can speak plainly enough to help people understand the value of providing liquidity, and then how that can create a better life for them, right? Like by you coming into my LP, okay, you're reducing my yield. This is not beneficial for me to tell you to come into my LP, okay? Like the volume's already there, and I'm at a certain percentage. And if you come into the LPs I'm in, then I'm going to get less yield. So I don't benefit. I actually harm myself right now telling you to do this. But I understand it's in order for this thing to work, there has to be a large group of us doing the right thing. It can't just be me. And I would happily give up yield to other people to create the world that I want to see.
So would I. So would I. That's kind of the vision that I've seen as well, where it might not be something where I can win harder than everybody else, but we can all win slower over time. But over time, okay, maybe it's slower in the short term, but over time, it's like the winning together compounds. So it starts slow, but even just like your liquidity position, it compounds. So the winning together also compounds. That's kind of the way that I've visualized it. So apparently this is Matty Allen's new token. So yeah, look, I guess I don't know who was asking me about this, the latest Matty Allen. Pretty sure it will rug soon. Yeah, look, it might. And I think, I mean, that's another thing, Bud. Like even everyone's still, I've been trying to encourage this idea and this mindset of not to think about individual tokens. I think everybody's still stuck in this. For me, it's like the old crypto, which Solana is like the epitome of the old crypto, which is buy a token, wait for it to go up, and then sell on everybody. And Solana is basically like the pinnacle of that idea that crypto has become. How do you tackle that? How do you encourage people to think about that as well? Because people are constantly asking me about tokens, and every day that goes by, I lose interest in individual tokens. Every day that goes by.
Well, I don't care. I'm just like you, Stephen. I don't care about that. I care about the liquidity webs. I care about the LPs. I care about people doing the same thing I'm doing. And, you know, if your focus, like the yield's great, you know, in those LPs, we've been through it. We've shown on screen what kind of APY you can get, right? Like, so transfer, don't worry about buying a lottery ticket. That's what tokens are. Like, there's a lottery ticket right in front of you, and there's a lot of work being done, and it's pDAI. Get you some of that, right? Like, if you think that the theories we've talked about, the work that we're seeing doing, the on-chain evidence, everything that has been discussed ad nauseum, right? If you think that's valid, get some, and then put it in an LP, and just promise yourself you won't sell what you originally bought. And then as it appreciates, and you will buy yourself the ability to live off of something for the rest of your life.
And the tax implications of that as well, Bud. It's worth noting, particularly when it comes to pDAI. If you wait to take anything, let's say there's a reality where it gets to $1, and then the yield that you're getting on that, you're taking it out, and it's the tax implications on that are huge.
Well, the tax, so like let's say you create an LP, like right now, let's say I took $5,000 and I bought that much pDAI. Okay. And then I used $2,500 to buy pDAI, $2,500 to buy an equivalent of another token like Teddy. I throw it in an LP, okay? And like, let's say we get to 300x and we get to $1. Well, when you remove and this is like, check your own tax code, right? Not a tax attorney, not an accountant, but I can just tell you how it works in my jurisdiction. So capital gains are taxed different than dividend. And if you remove the dividend, it's a 20% tax on the value of the dividend. So but you don't have to pay the tax on, like, let's say your $5,000 turned into, what is times 300? Is that 1.5 million? Is that right? Or is that
what was the math on that one? Sorry. So 5,000 times
5,000 times 300.
Oh yeah, I think it'd be like 1.5 million. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So you got 1.5 million. You don't get taxed on that if you never sell it. That would be unrealized capital gain. So you're fine, right? There's nothing taxable about it so long as you don't convert it. So when it goes into the LP, what you started with a $5,000 investment turned into a $1.5 million investment, but it's not taxable.
That's huge. That's something that people really need to take into account, I feel, is one of the best points about all of this.
So now you got that 1.5 million working for you, and say it only does 10% APY. And we've shown you in pools where it's doing a lot more than 10%. Well, 10% of 1.5 million is 150,000 a year. Can you live on that?
Very, very easily.
Right. Right. And they don't tax you on unrealized capital gain. Now, if you sell the 1.5, if you sell all your principal, then you got to pay the capital gain on that. You would take the 1.5, subtract the 5,000. That's your gain. Now you got to pay capital gains tax. And now you just skinned your sheep. And you'll be back in the poorhouse before you know it.
Yeah, and there's really something to be said on that. Again, the long-term mindset of that perspective, where maybe straight away, if you happen to be one of the 5%, the 1 to 5% of people that end up selling a top on a token and taking all the gold out of the system, you still have to equate the tax that you're getting for selling that token with the capital gains. So you have to deduct your capital gains. So maybe in the first year, if you were one of those 1 or 5%, yeah, your gains would be higher than doing this strategy. But in the long term, 1.5 becomes 1.5, then the 1.5 becomes what? 1.65, and then becomes so on and so forth without any tax. So over time, like compound is just, nothing beats compound.
Right, and it's compounding inside your LP, right? So it's not taxable. You can leave it in there and let it compound.
Exactly.
That's not a taxable event. It's only taxable when you remove it.
Exactly.
So if you only took half of the yield, then you're only paying tax on what you take out. This is only in my jurisdiction, right? Check your own tax code. But you can have this thing continue to grow and work without it being taxable.
Yeah, exactly. And then, yeah. You know what billionaires do to avoid taxes? They take a loan on their assets when they use the money that they get loaned to purchase things. So exactly. And then again, going back to this pDAI thing, which is why to me, it just means so much. It's something that no one's spoken about that I've really seen on Twitter. 40 new tokens were added as collateral types in the vaults yesterday. So right?
That's awesome, right?
That's awesome.
Like,
No, so Scam Long Dong has scammed and exploited, and now he's decided that he's going to he's going to do this extra work for some unknown reason to add 40 new tokens for collateral yesterday. Why? Why is nobody thinking about this? Why is nobody asking that question? But it's
right.
blasphemous to even talk about it. So yeah, then you have these tokens as collateral that you can put as collateral to borrow pDAI from. And is that a taxable event? Is that the same concept here? What billionaires do to avoid taxes? Would that be the same?
Well, you could put money into the MakerDAO. You sure, like, you could take an asset, I shouldn't say money. You could take one of your assets, like, let's say, I don't know what that list of 40 tokens is, but let's say it's X. All right,
So let's
take
say
your
it's
X,
X. Yep.
put it
Would
into
that
the
be
MakerDAO, and
taxable?
I believe the MakerDAO protocol requires 150% collateral,
I think so.
right? So you put, like, let's say you put $150,000 worth of hex into the Maker protocol, then you would mint 100,000 pDAI,
Mm-hmm.
and that you didn't sell your asset. That's not a taxable event. You just borrowed. You still have your collateral.
Those, I mean, it just opens up a whole new world, bud. It opens up a whole new world of what you can do, with that kind of world, the good that can be done in the world. And again, going back to Richard Hart, he lives by that example. He lives by that example. He's not he's a retired billionaire, but he's not just sitting on his ass doing nothing. And so I see him, or I feel that he's continuously taking action and just working his ass off. And so that's another thing where, again, we kind of cherry pick the things that Richard says, but only when it benefits the way that I want to live, or the way that I want to be. So, yeah. So
Yeah,
that's a
there's,
big,
like,
big.
we're starting to get into some really high level stuff, right?
Mhm.
With taxes and value extraction and like, I mean, I've read all the books of, like I told you the first time about using life insurance, right? Like, you can
Mhm.
become your own bank. There's ways in the world to do it. When I
Mhm.
borrow money, I borrow from myself. That's how I
Mm.
do it, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
I don't want to cover that because that's next level finance. If there's interest in it, I'm happy to share information, man. Right. But I
Mm.
don't want to get too much out there that we start to get lost. The important thing is, like, the people that watch you are of certain ilk. I believe that they're a lot like you. At least that's from the comments. Occasionally you get the trolls and the trash, but right. But your general audience are, like, they comment as if they're very good people.
Mhm.
And I want to encourage those people to, to start looking at the LPs and to be a part. Like, we can't make this better unless we all participate. And we don't want to rerun the, we don't want this to become what Hex became.
Mm. No. 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 You're right. This is like a second. It's like a second chance.
It really is.
So what I would like to do, Bud, it's getting quite late, so I want to kind of wrap this up. But what I'd like to do is, let's give an overview of the kind of things that we'll discuss in the future, so people can get an idea about the kind of things we're going to discuss. And then also, I'd like to, in the next episodes, if we do this, we'll discuss this after the stream. But if we do this weekly or bi-weekly, whatever it is, so we can invite other people up as well, where they can engage in the discussion. What kind of things do you think? Today we've covered providing liquidity, the Atropa web, the kind of yield that you can get, the tax benefits. compounded yield, everybody winning together by not extracting from each other? What kind of things do you think? How do you visualize this?
I'm amenable to really anything, any conversation that folks are interested in hearing is in the promotion of the Atropa system. I think we're going to have to take a certain amount of time to address the facts on the ground because the soil beneath our feet is shifting like by the hour, right? When we get through these swap auctions, the next time we talk, like there's going to be a lot to deal with there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're at 270. It's come down a bunch. I don't know. Is it 2 days, 3 days? We have the first flop auction, and then okay, now what? What's happening? Where's who bought the maker? The 220,000 maker tokens. Where did they go? Like, I think a lot of it's going to be just a current assessment of what we're seeing, things that are happening on chain. If people have particular questions or interests, we can kind of work through that. But I kind of want to stay on point of showing people how to get involved in becoming what the world needs.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing we can do is really continue the discussion around that. So even this, I just want to address this. So 9, these are the types of questions where, again, let's really break beyond. So we've even presented to you. So do you think Teddy Bear will go down if pDAI goes down? So with liquidity webbing, with liquidity bonding, it will go down. The Atropa ecosystem's all intricately bound. Everything on Pulsechain is very much intricately bound. So everything is going down with pDAI. So yes, Teddy Bear will, but instead of just thinking about Teddy Bear as a token that you want to go up to make gains on, we've also presented Teddy Bear with pDAI with insane amounts of yield. So really break, or you don't need to break your mindset, but really challenge your mindset of thinking beyond individual tokens. So I'd like
look
to
at liquidity pairs or look at systems. Like, don't talk about tokens, look at liquidity pairs or systems. And you have the Atropa system. It's all bonded. It's all going to perform the same way. Is one going to go up a little more than the other? Yeah, sure, probably. But if it all goes down, it's all going to go down together. You don't have to be real smart on that bet.
Yeah, and I know. I mean, I know in the old chats as well, Maria has spoken about wanting UIs for being able to visualize all this on a much clearer way. So at the moment, in order to find these things, you got to like basically do the research that we're doing. You go through liquidity pools, you go through liquidity pools versal.app, you kind of check the yield, and it's kind of like a game to find a liquidity pool. And for me, it's exciting when you find one. It's like, oh wow, this has got reasonably low liquidity but really high volume. So if it's got low liquidity and high volume, so just on this Jorge Lucio, if it's got, that's one thing, low liquidity, high volume, you're onto a winner. I mean, this says it all right here. This says it all right here. So the DAI, it has like what, 48k liquidity, and yeah, I mean that's 2,500% yield. So that's literally just insane. But then people would look at that and go, oh well, DAI is worth $1, but pDAI is only worth 0.01 cent. Then I'm going to be losing all my pDAI when pDAI gets to $1. But yeah, when you
if you project pDAI, to go to $1, you're not losing anything because DAI is $1. You're going to have $1 and $1. You're just catching the uptrend.
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, this is definitely an anomaly because I think the liquidity is definitely going to increase. And actually, I might just out of curiosity, I want to see. No, it's still 3.7K on here. So I don't know why that says 48K and this says 3.7K. Maybe this is one of them's lagging. So, but this is the liquidity on this has very much been pulled. So yeah, sorry, bud. I kind of went off on a little tangent there.
It's okay.
Yeah. So anything that you kind of want to finish up on, bud?
No, man, I think we covered a lot of good ground. You don't want.
I think just go back and watch Millie.
Yeah.
We don't want this to be another we're standing up for a pulse chain that is let's win together, not let's PvP, which is old crypto, which is everything that Solana is, but Hex has also become that because if we look at every single origin address pump, it has been directly extracted out of the system. So we don't want our blockchain to be another one of those. We want our blockchain on Pulsechain. We want to build something different with a new mindset. So that's what we're standing for. So when we say we don't want this to be another Hex, we don't want this to be a community of extractors. We want this to be a community of givers. So that's what we're trying to do, essentially, by trying to show what the beauty of Pulsechain can provide for us all to be givers rather than extractors. So this is like a second opportunity that we're getting. So I hope that clears it up. So we'll probably continue to make those kinds of points each time. So yeah, this was just an introduction into everything.
Right.
So sorry, bud. Were you saying you wanted to finish up on anything?
We'll do the next one just as events happen. Like after we get a flop auction, maybe we'll come on and do another one, or we'll do it in a week or whatever. Yeah, I would just encourage people, like, watch this video. If you have questions about things that got discussed, just write it down, and the next time we're on, put it in. And like, we're just trying to disseminate information the best we can, and we'll try to help you learn. If we're just people with perspectives, and if you'll invest in yourself and in learning, and like use this as a resource, happy to help you learn, happy to show you how to do stuff, right? Like, but just get curious.
Yeah. And for any future ones we'll have as well, I will put the invite link there so people are, we're welcome to come up and share and ask questions. So we've got the chat here. I've been trying to follow the chat for any kind of questions. So yeah, I think that's probably a good idea to do it as events come up, or maybe even if people have things that they want discussed, you can send me a DM, or maybe as well we can keep some kind of ongoing chat in DMs, bud, and maybe we can get like a group of topics or something that we can discuss, and when it kind of builds up enough momentum, we'll start the next one. We'll kind of just play it by ear. So we're just experimenting with this idea for now.
Yeah, sounds great.
Because we want to be the light, like you said. I really love that idea, bud. I love that idea.
Yeah, we do, man. And you're doing it, but you just be the light, and you don't worry about the boo birds.
Yeah.
I don't, if Hex people get upset, I don't give a rat's ass. I don't care. It's fine. Like,
that's the way of the cowboy.
Yeah. I still hope they have a good day after they're done being upset.
Yep. No, that's fair enough. So I love it. Okay, awesome. All right. Well, thanks a lot, bud. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this. Hopefully everybody got some some good information out of this, and we will continue to look into this, and we'll continue to explore. I guess on the last thing, but have you by any chance watched the I've done maybe like 2 or 3 videos on recursive finance. Have you looked at any of those?
Uh-huh. I have.
Yeah, that's definitely something where perhaps we can weave that into these discussions in the future as well. That's definitely something that I'd like to continue to explore. That's really something that blew my mind when it came into my consciousness. So,
well, I believe we're just kind of skimming the surface of it, aren't we?
yeah, absolutely. I definitely feel like we are. Yes.
Yeah, and we'll just continue to talk about it and elaborate it into levels that is digestible.
Sounds good. Sounds perfect. Excellent. Are you on Telegram, bud?
No, hell no. Don't follow me.
Okay. Yeah, because some people have been asking for your Telegram and your X.
Nope. No, don't follow me. I don't want to, like, No, I'll be here. I'll help you here. I'm not a good follow. I don't post. I don't want to post. When I'm outside living my life, I'm not on my phone. Right? Like, that's it. I'm not going to, I'll store up anything intelligent I have to say for this. Okay. You won't miss nothing. I promise.
Sounds good. Yeah, and this is actually a really good point as well. So if you can get more people to provide liquidity, it will make your token more popular, and that way it's good again for you. So there you go. So there is a point where if you get enough liquidity in the pool, that it will drive volume through the liquidity routing. So
that's
yes,
exactly
there are
right.
benefits of working together.
Yeah. That's kind of that's part 2 of it, right? Part 1 is a detriment of sharing the LP, but he's exactly right. Or whoever Soylent Green is, he, she, whatever it is. The more liquidity flows through that pool.
Bingo. All right, awesome. Thank you very much, Bud. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. We got over 1,200 people, so it's good to see. It's really, really good to see that there's this energy around this. So thanks very much, everybody. Thanks very much, Bud, and everybody have a lovely day.